The recently launched Nigerian digital currency, the eNaira, has stood on some shaky ground since its launch, given the perception of an unexpected infant death. Well, the eNaira Speed Wallet, which has now disappeared and also re-emerged from the Google Play Store after 100,000 downloads, was met with discouraging reviews, low ratings and criticism, where users complain about some glitches. Although the CBN spokesperson Wanisobi Osuta says that the development is to enable the app to be upgraded, this recent action of sudden disappearance and re-emergence refers to technological glitches having left some doubt in the minds of average Nigerians who have downloaded and expect it to be business as usual. What is the future of the eNaira amidst these challenges? I have joining me virtually to discuss this and more, the co-founder of Budget, Joseph Akumbiade. Good to have you on the show this afternoon, Joseph.
Good afternoon.
Now, this is barely 48 hours since the launch of the digital currency, the unveiling as well of the eNaira. The first 24 hours after the eNaira launch, we had Nigerians complain about sign-up challenges with their emails and their BVNs. There were hitches there. And then almost 48 hours after, we had the sudden disappearance of eNaira app. That's the Speed Wallet app on Google Play Store. And just a few minutes ago, I checked, and then it's back on. Did you... It's quite an interesting question I'm going to ask here. Now, we've had years to prepare for this. Yes, glitches are expected, but this sort of situation within the realm of user experience is inexcusable. Do you understand the sentiment the average Nigerian is sharing at this point?
Absolutely. You would expect that for the kind of investment and for the kind of organization backing it, that you wouldn't see such a thing. But one thing I know is that for technology is not predictable. That is the truth. While I may not know the details, chances are that there are just certain things that when you launch directly to the public, I don't know if they did a focus group, for example, to test the app. But if you just launch to the public, things like this are bound to happen. So I'm not totally surprised, to be candid. A few people that I've spoken with that have installed the app, signed up successfully, even linked it up to their account, enjoyed the journey. Why? There've been a few more people. Interestingly, the people that have not installed it are more than people who have even attempted, and a few people who have attempted that I've spoken with seem to have, enjoyed the usage of the app so far.
And now, Joseph, as part of the reactions and lines of communication we've had from the CBN, it says, well, on its website, it will not bear any liability for any interruption, loss of revenue, or loss of services arising from the use of the eNaira website as well. What do you make of this sort of body language in terms of the communication to the populace and potential customers and clients and those who expect a smooth user experience?
Yeah, so that in itself is very discouraging. When you're like this, especially stuff that will be taken as people's, value and all that, putting out such statement at the beginning, it's very discouraging because already people have some level of skepticism. So I would expect them to do better next time. Putting out such words is really not acceptable in any way. So there are still questions. People are asking questions that there are no answers for. Is it blockchain? Is it this? Is it that? What happens if a hacker gets into the app and move my money and all that? And then you're saying. So I think that their communication was not well done there. They should probably improve on that. So that for someone like me, I'm very hopeful that it's a step in the right direction. But I think their communication must be better next time, just to encourage us.
And looking at encouragement here too, one of the biggest elements that we're all looking out for is transparency and regulatory oversight. Now, the eNaira is expected to have stronger security as it cannot be forged or counterfeited as a result of its unique features in terms of identity and security structure and also its traceability. So for people like you who question whether or not this is a safe space, and then your data quite critical here too, can it be harvested by hackers? Well, the CBN says it is secure. Do you believe that?
Well, I mean, so in the president's speech, he had mentioned blockchain. However, TBN themselves have not come out right to state that that it is a blockchain technology. If it's blockchain, then yes, we're sure we have a relative comfort. That we might be safe. It's still a 50-50 because we have to know all of these things. You talked about transparency. It's important that they are very transparent at this point about every single thing that's that is involved here. But whether it's the government that should be doing such a thing is another thing, which I don't know if it's subject for today. But if it's blockchain, definitely people can be rest assured that their money will be safe. I think the biggest challenge we'll be having is more on operations. How, internal operations, and how does that connect with the real value of Naira if it's on blockchain? How do you actually, say it is the same thing as Naira? That is where we have concerns. The whole conversation has to be well communicated so that, stakeholders, especially in private sector, can be very convinced. These are the people who will sell it to the users eventually. So CBN must come clean and let us understand very well. I know one thing they've done is to say that all the banks are plugged in, all of that, so there's no problem with being able to access your funds at any point in time. However, they need to be clear whether it's blockchain or not. But I'm assuming that though that it's probably a blockchain, ledger.
We already have at least 33 banks join the platform now. What do you think would be some of the biggest mistakes if we have this app once again disappear from Google Play Store and other stores as well? Or we have glitches or hitches when it comes to signing up and then inputting details? How much of a downer would this be on the sentiment of the populace in its reception? Because that's one question we've also looked at. How well will the Nigerian populace receive this?
I think they should just add that it is in beta phase, so that it can be tolerated. In the tech sector, we are familiar with stuff like this, where when you launch products, generally, you might have to, especially for an app, from time to time, there might be some bugs you've not really anticipated. It is when people use something that you begin to see, the real app you have built. It is not what you have in your head that you built in that is, most important. So they should probably just put it out there that they are testing it. However, you can do your transaction on it. So if that is done, then it helps to manage expectation. Once expectation is well managed, I believe it's okay.
Well, concur, this is definitely a learning curve. This is the pilot scheme, the initial days of it. This is less than a week since we've had the launch. But looking at how things are also playing out, what do you think would be the biggest surprises? And also within the scope of research now, looking at crypto trading and other platforms, digital blockchain solutions as well. What are some of the lessons you expect to be replicated with this eNaira? What additions do you expect to make it a seamless experience as well? And in the area of not making the same old mistakes, what else do you also expect in terms of tweaks, even if we've already launched?
So for eNaira, if you look at the kind of culture we have here, especially with cryptocurrencies, one of the people that CBN should have anticipated that would be early adopters will be people who trade currencies, and so one of the things they should have done is to have opened up that possibility, have APIs for people to be able to build applications on top of it. That way, the adoption and some of the various kind of expectations that they have, they can quickly, start experiencing it early so that they can learn, and fail fast, grow and move forward. One of the things that I don't want to be negative at all, because for me, I think this is a step in the right direction because of what the other benefits that this is bringing to However, for them to learn and to prepare adequately, they will need to give the right people who are supposed to be adopting it en masse, give them access to the system, and then allow them to do what they would do. Like I said, you always have an idea in your head. So government have said that it will allow them to be able to transfer money to people, social stuff, do all of those kind of things. That is their own thinking. The way we use it, the way the users are going to use it, it's what will determine how well it will go. So they need to give people access. APIs need to be built. Let people build on top of it. I would just assume that CBN should just focus on being an infrastructure rather than trying to be the one controlling the usage, how people use it. Be an infrastructure, allow people to build on top of it. And then we'll see what it actually means to the people based on user experience, how people use it, and product that people build on top of it.
And how people are also going to use this, I would like to tackle you on your initial statement making mention of the fact that the eNaira is also expected to help the coverage, penetration, or the reach of government social welfare programs. Now, not everybody in urban centers have phones that can download this app, and talk less of those in rural areas. So some posit that this is a flaw on its own part when we are looking at the penetration of social welfare and government agenda to reach the masses.
So a friend of mine, Deza, we're just talking about it, and we think that this is the first iteration. Of course, you can only build USSD on an existing infrastructure. So while we would expect that should have, come first as part of the launch, I would expect that maybe subsequent release, maybe in a couple of days or weeks or months, would include USSD. So the first thing when you release a product is that you have to determine that who are the people you want to use it. The segment of market you are talking about, they are the people who are likely also the unbanked and all of that. You can't introduce a new platform or technology and be serving those people first. So it's okay, because it's the people who have smartphones who are going to educate, or sort of have more income, who are going to educate the other people. So it's not totally out of place. The only challenge is if in the next couple of releases there are no USSD application, then I'll believe that the financial inclusion goal that they listed, then that is not achievable. But I would believe, like I said, that it is first iteration. Subsequent iteration, we have the USSD, SMS, and other simpler ways, feature phone app, and all of that. That will come on. Yes.
Let us also play pundits now, looking at the best and worst case scenario with the eNaira in perspective. What do you think will play out in these two scenarios? A best and then a worst case situation.
So there's
that's a tough one.
Yeah, it's a tough one. But what so there's an amount that was used to back this whole eNaira. So the worst case scenario is that there's a hack, there's money is moved, which probably might be trackable, possibly, but then probably lose that money, which is impossible that you lose everything. That for me is the worst case scenario, which will now mean that people might not trust such system again from government. But the best case scenario is all the various advantages that it's going to come with this. If this becomes something that is well adopted across board, then you have that the money we spend on printing notes, that will reduce. We spend so much money printing, paper currency, the social welfare. I remember during COVID when federal government said they send money to people, and we were asking who did they send it to. With a system like this, where people have proper identity within the financial market, which we also think, the adoption by local people of eNaira, more people will be reached, and it will probably become a lot easier for them to be able to publish the information, because last time they couldn't publish it. I remember at budget we were asking that we want to really see who was the money sent to, and we didn't get that information. Now it becomes a lot easier. So we'd expect more accountability and transparency with social schemes where they distribute money to the citizens. So around all the monetary policies, increased remittance, a lot of things that the president talked about. I don't know how that's going to work, but the president also mentioned the fact that it's going to help with cross-border transaction, ease of moving money around. It's always been a very difficult thing. However, I don't understand how that will happen if other countries around are not doing the same thing. So on the good side, I'm more on the good side. Best case scenario, and what can possibly happen from having such a system. And as a developer, of course, if they eventually release the APIs, I'm more excited about what we can build on top of it.
And then let's also look at the eNaira now, and it's some comparison with other crypto assets. You look at the like of Bitcoin and Ether and all of those. In terms of performance now, what sort of forecast do you see playing out if we put side by side these digital currencies?
If you put it out there completely like the way Bitcoin, it's too risky, I'm not a blockchain expert, but I know that what you have in terms of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin is that people are mining these things, and that is what determines the total volume that is being traded. So if federal government, for example, is backing this with $200 million and is open for people to trade, from my basic understanding, it will be too much risk, but I don't know, it's an experiment at best. So when we see the experiment, then they can always stop it at any point in time because there's a high level of regulation around eNaira. So I would expect that, running a test and an experiment for people to use it the way Bitcoin is being used might be really helpful. The other constraint is the fact that Bitcoin is cross-border properly. Naira is not cross-border, except we want to actually allow people fully because it's regulated by CBN. So I don't see it as at par with Bitcoin, to be candid. These days Bitcoin has become a very powerful way of transferring money across countries and all that. eNaira might not actually be able to ever become part of that, and it is that usage that helps increase the value of Bitcoin. So so except for local usage, in the past we've seen situations where people try to do like within like farmers try to trade stuff without papers and all of those kind of things. This might be a good way to help within local systems, to do transactions. However, not in the context of Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, which is very sophisticated and it's used across different borders.
And looking at the user interface as well, what do you also see as the future of digital financial solutions in Nigeria? Looking at what we see in the global space, mimicking that, Nigeria having a strong footing here as well. Take, for example, some of the initiatives we are having now in terms of digital solutions. Nigeria is marking the checklist of first. How do you see this also evolving the digital financial solution space further?
So the interesting thing is that in the financial industry, Nigeria has always, lead the market. We've always done very well. We introduced a lot of the technology, and that's because there's a lot of issues here, security issues. So we have to be, grow very fast in terms of technology. So this is one of the first in Africa for us. But there are other countries who already had digital currencies before now, Jamaica and co. But the side to eNaira, which I didn't really appreciate, is the fact that there was a technology built outside Nigeria. We already have capacity here. We are building products for the world today. In fintech, not just fintech that are built in Nigeria. I'm saying this authoritatively. We are building some of the sophisticated products that are used abroad. We have Nigerians working in some of the top banks, building their fintech solutions. So I was quite disappointed that it was an external. We had to take this thing offshore to get it built. That would have been very interesting to see that it was built by a local technology partner. So for me, I would say that, so we need to do more in terms of, believing in ourselves and using the resources we've got. China will never build the technology and take it to another country, and we're talking about the future here. This is the future where the human capital is being developed fully to support whatever growth we are experiencing. That way, we won't have to start, importing consultants very soon to come and tell us how to do what we're supposed to be doing.
And do you see this also waking up a new wave of experts within this field in Nigeria?
Yeah, we already have our own local experts, maybe not external experts, but I just can't tell so much, The lesson for me here is just that we have the capabilities. We can build everything that was built in eNaira. Would expect that if they allow, for example, if, like I recommended, if CBN decides to just be an infrastructure allowing people to build on top of what they have done, they will see the magic, the real magic that is possible.
Thank you very much for your time on the show today. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, Joseph Agumbiade. We've been speaking with the co-founder of Budget. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much.